Howdy, I'm Lisa Carroll.
I am Garrett Carroll.
We are a family-run real estate team here in Land O'Lakes, Florida in the Tampa Bay area, and today we're doing an updated version of the pros and cons of living in Land O'Lakes in 2025.
Let's get into this.
Here we go.
Number one is we consider Land O'Lakes to be a great location. It's just north of Tampa, and you can easily access Interstate 75, 275, the Suncoast Parkway, Highway 19, a lot of different ways to get around town. To get to the beaches, 45 minutes, maybe 60 on a bad day, depending on which beach you're going to. To get to downtown Tampa, you can get down there in about 45 minutes. USF, if you want to get over there, probably about 30 minutes. To get to major hospitals, we've got a lot of improvements in our area with that, so we can get to medical facilities quickly, and we actually have more things available than we ever have before as far as restaurants, dining options, entertainment options, and all that, because Land O'Lakes has grown like crazy over the last few years.
That it has. And it's probably 35 minutes from the airport, you'd say?
Yeah,
Right.
35 to 40 minutes to the airport.
Pretty
That's
close to
right.
the
Yeah.
airport as well. There's a lot of good restaurants in the area. All you got to do is drive probably 20 minutes to get to Wesley Chapel, and you have some really good options there. A ton of restaurant options there and shopping options as well. In Land O'Lakes, we have a couple restaurants, not a whole bunch of them, but there is a couple restaurants that do have bars and that are on the lake, which is pretty cool. So there is a couple places you can go hang out, have a good dinner and stuff like that. And Stonewater Grill is one of them, and also Ukulele Brands is a place you could go as well here in Land O'Lakes. There's also some good food here in Land O'Lakes, like Pizza Pie. It's one of my favorite pizza places. We get it all the time at the house for the family. Great food there. And there's a Capital Tacos as well. And the owner there has really been trying to grow the business, make sure that it's really good food. He wants to become a community-based restaurant here in the area. So he's really trying to make the best food he can and have the best service that they can there. So I'm sure that they have really good food there as well.
So number two is that we have more of a suburban feel here. There's really not a city or a town. There's no streets and cross streets. Really, it's more subdivisions. A lot of the subdivisions have amenities, and they're more family oriented, I'd say, with parks within the communities, dog parks, pools, different things like that. So I think that's a real big plus for Land O'Lakes, is that you have a lot of nice neighborhoods to choose from. And there's a lot of different options now than there used to be, because we have a lot of new construction going on.
That's very true. A little con that I will add with that is, since there has been so much new construction and there's been all these new buildings and stuff like that, there has been an increase in the traffic. So I will say there is some traffic during rush hour. It's still not terrible. It's not like if you're from a big city or something like that, it's not bad at all. But maybe coming from somewhere really suburban, it might be a little bit traffic heavy.
It's more traffic heavy than it was.
Yes,
Let's say
that's
that.
for sure.
Another great thing about Land O'Lakes is good schools. So we have some really great schools here in Land O'Lakes, one of which is Land O'Lakes High School, which has consistently been ranked an A school in the United States, and it ranks highly consistently. We also have other great schools in the area, from elementary to middle school, and some other great high schools. So there's a lot of great school options. There's also some great private school options in the area. And, if you'd like more information about that, we're going to be doing a video very soon about schools in Land O'Lakes, and we'll go into more detail about that.
There's also a few big churches in the area, like Grace Family Church and Idlewild Church. They're right here in the area. Both of them are probably about 15 to 25 minutes, depending on where you're at in Land O'Lakes. Some it could be closer, a little further. Great churches. They have great bands. They have big services, stuff like that. So if you are a churchgoer and you like that, you should definitely check out this area.
And there's a lot of other smaller churches too. There's quite a few options
Yes,
with regard to this.
there's a ton of churches in the area.
Another pro of Land O'Lakes is the cost of living is lower than it is in Tampa. Because we are in Pasco County, the taxes are lower than Hillsborough County, so it does save you some money, and that's a big plus of living up here in Land O'Lakes.
There's also a ton of different cool outdoor activities that you can do here in the Land O'Lakes area. There's a lot of trails, parks, lakes. There's a lot of ski lakes in the area as well. A lot of people have ski lakes. They go out on their boat and they ski, or they tube and do that on a Sunday or a weekend. There's a lot of cool options here in Land O'Lakes when it comes to outdoor activities. You also can do biking on these trails. There's the Connerton Trail, which has some really cool boardwalks and stuff that goes through the swamp. And there's a ton of other trails. Pretty much wherever you're at in Land O'Lakes, you can get to a trail or somewhere that's an outdoor park pretty quickly.
And a lot of them are horse friendly. So if you're a horse lover, we do have a lot of horses around here, and we often see people riding their horses on some of these trails where they allow them. So that's a real big plus for Land O'Lakes too, that you can't find in Tampa, that's for sure.
Yes, there's also some really cool campgrounds in those parks where there's equestrian campgrounds, so you can go out with your horse, ride around with your horse and camp. There's a lot of cool Boy Scout activities that they do out there as well at those different state parks that are right here in the area.
The communities often have elementary schools within them as well, which is great for those young children. So when you have your kids going to school, they're right there within the same community, or sometimes a community right next door to where you live. So that's a big plus of Land O'Lakes living as well. And all the new restaurants and all that Garrett was talking about. Yes, Wesley Chapel has built up a little more, and Lutz, which we border here in Land O'Lakes. But Land O'Lakes itself is growing. We have more and more options than we ever did in the past. So that's a big plus, because it was a little sparse out here for a while when we first moved to Land O'Lakes. Definitely had to drive for probably 30 minutes to get to a decent restaurant, and now we have lots of options. So that's a big plus. So as Garrett mentioned before, the traffic has definitely gotten worse and more congested out here in Land O'Lakes over the last few years as we've built and built and built all these new communities. There are lots of plans for road expansion though, so that's a plus. We have to live through it, but when the time comes and it's all done, I think it'll definitely make it smoother driving. There are times a day where the traffic is a little more congested than it used to be. So that's a con, I'd say, of Land O'Lakes lately. Some of the restaurants that Garrett mentioned earlier do have entertainment. They have live music. They have open mic nights. They have, I think it's like bingo, different things going on at some of these different restaurants locally. So there is some entertainment. But if you're a big nightlife person and you want to be out at a club or out somewhere where you can stay out late and dance and party and all that kind of stuff, Tampa is definitely your best bet for that, because Land O'Lakes will not fit the bill. That's for sure. I don't think it ever will. So something to consider for these youngins.
Yeah. I will say this. One con is there is a lot of heat and humidity here in Florida, especially during those summer months. We get a ton of humidity and a lot of heat. So it'll be 98, but it feels like 105, and that's definitely a con of living here in the area. There is a lot of rain during the summer season, which for some people may be a con. I personally love the rain, so I actually like it. I don't like the hurricanes, but that's another con. There is hurricanes as well in Florida that we have to deal with. Now, if you're inland, usually you don't have as much risk, but there is still that worry that there is hurricanes.
Right. For sure. Yeah, the mugginess and the rain can be considered a con, but it is beautiful when it does rain. And it rains almost every day in the summer in the afternoon. So that's something different about Florida and Land O'Lakes. And the last con of living here in Land O'Lakes, Florida, I would say, is the wildlife and pests. So we do have alligators, for sure. They don't bother us if we don't bother them. So I know a lot of people are concerned about it. And, we live on a lake. We can hear the gators. We rarely see them. There are a lot of bugs at times, but as long as you keep up with your annual or monthly pest control in your home, you should be fine with that. Other than that, we have just the typical stuff. We have beautiful deer and beautiful birds and beautiful wildlife as well. So that would be a plus of Land O'Lakes.
Yeah, and I like seeing the gators. You just don't want them. You don't want to walk your dog, right at the edge of a pond or something like that. Like she said, they don't really mess with you unless you go up in their area and stuff.
For sure. So overall, I'd say Land O'Lakes is best for families, retirees, those that like a more quiet lifestyle, families, that type of thing. If you're the kind of person that wants to be in the middle of it all with easy access to museums and entertainment and nightlife, then Tampa might be your best bet over Land O'Lakes.
I agree. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, let us know if you have any pros or cons, if you live in Land O'Lakes, if you could share some that you thought of and that you could consider a pro or con here for the Land O'Lakes area. Until next time,
Team TLC out.